And Michelle?
We are
Oh, we're
live.
live.
All right, everyone. We do apologize for the technical issues, and thank you, everyone, for reaching out to us and letting us know that there were technical issues occurring. The first 15 or so questions that have already been answered prior to now will be uploaded in with the video after we end this live. And we're going to go ahead and continue going from where we left off, which was how long the contract with STA is.
The current contract with ST is for 5 years.
5 years?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. When and why was the decision made? Oh, there we go. Next one. Why is my middle school student having to wait 20 to 45 minutes at school before a bus comes to take her home?
So I've talked a little bit about this. It's fundamental. It's a lack of drivers. It's a lack of routes. Therefore, the routes dropping off the elementary kids are taking longer than they're supposed to because they're combining routes due to lack of drivers. Therefore, they're late getting to the middle school. So it's all about lack of drivers. That hopefully on Monday, October 3rd, when 6 new drivers come on board, hopefully that gets fixed.
Right. And it's my understanding that this shortage is actually occurring all over the country, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's true. It's
doesn't make it any better, but
no,
we're not alone. That's all right. So next question. Why was there no communication with families at the end of last school year, or at least over the summer, regarding which students would need a bus?
I think that's where we as a district, in partnership with transportation services, we obviously need to do a better job. Why wasn't it communicated at the end of the school year last year or over the summer? Our expectation would be that the companies could be putting something out there on our website. And again, if you're at the end of the school year, you could be checking in with our building level administrators, and they can be letting you know. By law, I'm under the impression that if you are elementary age students, that we need to be transporting if you are a mile away or more. And if you're at the secondary level, then it's a mile and a half. But those are the types of things that we as a district can put out there. And then if you have questions whether or not you can have access to transportation, let us know, and then we can get that information pushed out. But we should have something on hand here in the spring to let you know as well.
All right, thank you. Next question is, why did Dr. Phillips and the district keep referring us to use the app during the first 2 weeks of school when the app was not working and it still shows incorrect times and stops?
Yeah, STA told us they had a great app. They told us that their app worked well and it was syncing, and so they kept assuring us of that. So we kept pushing that to the families. If we would have known it didn't work, we wouldn't have asked you to get on it. So, yeah, we fell short there. Absolutely.
Okay, next question is, are there cameras on the buses?
Yes. Every bus has cameras.
Okay. And are those proprietary to STA or to the public, or how does that work?
Well, per the contract, we can get access to those videos.
Okay. All right. And why did we change bus companies? Oops.
So I touched on this a little bit earlier. I don't know for sure. I can only assume. I believe as First Student was the busing company for about 15 years. And okay. I don't think they were perfect. I've yet to, there's no bus company that does everything perfect. Just like there's no school superintendent or anything else that's perfect. But they, for some reason, the administration at the time decided to go out for an RFP and go out through the request for proposal and an application process for a new bus vendor. And through that process, they chose STA over First Student, and I believe Mid-Columbia was another one that applied. So why, I don't know for sure. I know there was a process followed, and STA was a successful candidate.
All right. And what was the process to choose the company? In general, like the process that is followed.
Yeah, generally what happens is the school district would send out basically a bid package saying, this is what we want, this is what you need to reply to us, and answering all these questions and how you're going to fulfill these obligations, basically how you're going to do the job, and also how much is going to cost. So that is asked, and then the companies reply with answers in a document. Then there's interviews that take place. There's usually a point system where the proposal is scored by district employees. Interview process where the interviewing is scored by district employees, and then the successful candidate gets awarded the contract. That's typically how that happens.
Okay. Maple Rush went from 6 bus routes in the past to only 3 this year. Could you explain why this was not a red flag or reviewed by anyone in our district?
Well, it was reviewed, and it absolutely is a red flag. It's the reality of what's going on. Last year there was, I believe, 36 routes a day, and they opened this year with 16, which is even less than half. So the idea that Maple Rush went from 6 to 3 is absolutely what happened district-wide. Now, I'm not for a second saying that's acceptable. It obviously isn't, but that's what happened. They did not produce the number of drivers and therefore the number of routes that they were signed on to produce.
Okay, thank you. What can a district do to ensure the STA is held accountable for breaches in the contract as it relates to student safety?
Well, we're in the process of doing that right now. We've heard from you, our constituents. We've heard from our building level staff saying the issues and the concerns, and we've reached out to STA. And I think that anytime somebody's coming up short, you want to give them first opportunity to rectify or correct the situation, which we as a district are doing with STA. And we've also been consulting with our attorneys as far as what steps and options that we have. Usually in any given contract, there are out clauses and there are steps to go through a process. And so we are working our way through the contract agreement. We have a contract with STA, and we're going to honor that contract, but we are also exercising our right to bring in another company to come alongside and support. But we're giving STA first opportunity to work through these current issues, and we're having First Student come alongside, and we also have out clauses with that company as well. So it's not that we are not holding them accountable. We are. In fact, in all the years I've been in education, I've never seen 2 companies running in one district at the same time. So we are sending a message that we need to improve, and this needs to pick up. Also would like to point out too, to remind you that STA will be able to answer operational questions, and some of these questions we as school officials aren't able to address, but they can do that. But just so that you know, we will send out those answers to everybody. And then if you have more questions, we'll be prepared to either answer that ourselves or work with our 2 vendors as well, with STA and First Student, as we're approaching October.
Thank you. The next question I think has been answered, but I think it may be more along the line. So we are we under contract with STA, and can we switch back to First Student? And I think maybe that's more of a question of whether or not we can breach the contract and break the contract because of their negligence.
Well, I'll jump on that a little bit here as well. There's more than 2 companies out there. And so for us to say we're going to go absolutely with First Student, again, I don't think would be prudent on our part. And so we would go, if it came to that point, and I stress if it came to that point, it would be an RFP process. And again, what vendors would be willing to come in and work with us. And then we would go through that process of doing the reviews before deciding on a company. I understand that the question is asking, do we have to stay with the current group? But the reality is that for us to say we're going to go with this only other company wouldn't be good on our part. So is that a possibility? I would say it is a possibility.
All right, the next question is, what should a student do when they arrive to school late because of the bus, and what should parents do to follow up?
Yeah, this is one of the things that I guess is irritating, frankly, for me, is kids showing up to class late. They're missing obviously valuable instructional time. They're starting the day off on the wrong foot. You know, kids should get to school. If they need some breakfast, they need to go to the cafeteria and grab some breakfast. Absolutely. If they've already had breakfast at home, then they can get to class. Teachers all know what's going on. They know that it's not the kids' fault and the family's fault. They know that it's our fault. And so the teachers are handling that appropriately. Grades won't be affected because of this. Student learning very likely will be. Kids are missing parts of their day, and it's not acceptable. What should parents do? I think parents, if I am a parent, and if it's my son or daughter that's showing up late, first period, I'm in contact with that teacher. I'm sending the teacher an email and just saying, hey, as you know, the busing situation is kind of rough right now, and I think my son or daughter is continually 10 to 15 minutes late for your math class every morning, and just what can I do to help? Just be in contact with those teachers. Those teachers understand it, and they'll help work through it.
So the best advice would be to definitely reach out to that teacher that they have, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, inform them of why they're being tardy, of the reason behind it, and then maybe even ask if there's anything that they can do to help, anything that they need to get caught up on, et cetera. So that's what it sounded like.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a K-12 issue, but I think mostly middle school and high school,
right? It's
kind of a more acute. And I think the teachers already know why they're late.
Right.
But what can the student or the kid do to help, or not help, but to work through it?
Okay. All right. We have, in a previous email, the district mentioned compensation for parents that have been driving their students to school so that they can arrive on time. What is the process to receive that compensation?
So on Monday night, when we had our meeting here at the district office, we had Heather Bigsby, our business manager, had the proper paperwork and forms for people to fill out. And some people did take advantage of that. Basically, we use the IRS rate, which is 58.5 cents per mile. And so we have the paperwork here at the district office. So if you're interested in that, get a hold of us here at the district office, and we can have a member of our business department walk you through that process.
Okay. We do have some additional questions from people in the district. It looks like we'll start, and there's not very many so far, but there are a few. Here we go. Somebody wanted to let us know that they've not had the bus. We have had the bus not come at all twice this week, both times without communication from the bus company, app, or the school.
So the reality is we don't know either. We're not communicating, we're not being told any sooner than you're being told. And so we're really dependent upon STA, and coming Monday, it'll be dependent on STA and First Student to communicate with us and communicate with families what's going on. I do know that there was I believe it was yesterday, one of the routes, there was a tree that fell down and it was over the road. And there was a communication that was sent out by STA, and it was received and it was timely. So I know they can do it. They have done it, but they frankly haven't done a great job of it, and
Right.
they definitely need to improve on that.
And so the next question is, why have we not reached out to Shiloh? I don't want to say their last name wrong. Fisek, for more information about the switch, and if so, is he willing, or do we not know?
I haven't reached out.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Are we also considered in breach of contract since a liaison has not been assigned?
I guess I don't understand. We sent a breach of contract letter, so we're definitely considering a breach of contract. Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think it has anything to do with a liaison not being assigned or being assigned, but we've already sent a letter. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody would like to know when we can expect that the situation will be rectified and if we have a timeline.
I would say for the next 50 days, as we have a short-term contract with First Student, we're going to be taking a look at both of these groups and seeing how they're performing. The other thing we'll be looking at too is the recruitment opportunities and options that these groups are affording. And so again, we're of the hope and the belief that we're going to be able to have more drivers and that we're going to continue to expand our fleet, which is going to better serve the needs. But as far as giving you or offering you opportunity or guarantees, we can't do that.
Okay. There was another comment or question saying, that this decision should not have been made last year when things were already, disarray. I think they've already kind of basically covered that in that neither were in place. I don't believe that either of you were in the office at the time when they made this decision. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So we can't speak to why they would make that decision if they weren't there. How are we supposed to know if their kids are showing up late if the app is not working and we have no idea when they actually get to class? What is the process? Is what I think that's. So how does that get?
I would contact the school and I would call and I would say, is my son or daughter there? And if so, can you let me know what time they rolled in? And they should be able, if maybe not the exact minute, they should be able to say yes or no. Because again, when buses are running late, the company is contacting the schools and informing them, and then that information is being pushed out into the classes.
Okay. Somebody was asking when and how should parents contact the district or the busing companies if the students are late?
So if they're late for school,
I would assume so. This goes to Mike Foster if he's still there.
I mean, I guess if the kids are late for school because they're on the bus, the school knows because the whole bus of kids shows up late.
Right.
And the busing company already knows because they're the ones that are late. So I don't know. I must not be. I must not understand the question.
I think it's just a matter of the process in terms of, so the bus company notifies the school, and the school should know in theory if the students aren't there, if there's a whole bus missing, like you said. I think a lot of the logistical questions should be routed to the operational questions as stated to STA. And we are going to send these questions to them to get your guys' answers for those ones.
And then you've got that phone number as well too, and I would copy that down and I would be calling them as well.
Yes.
And I have been calling them personally, but even as a parent, I would be as well.
And for everyone that is still watching and submitting questions, I want everyone to know that if we do not get to your question that are listed in the comments, we are still going to take those questions and we are going to make sure that they get answered, and we will make sure that they get replied to at some point in the near future. For the questions that were already answered in the video that was not going live, that will also be posted here shortly. So if you thought you were missed, you were not missed. And for our Hispanic community, translators were not available this evening, but we are having the transcript done in Spanish to send out to them as well. Let's see. Do you guys have any other comments or things you want to add to anything regarding the busing situation? Wasn't already covered.
We've said it a lot, whether it's in a board meeting or whether it was in the Monday night meeting, and I'll say it again. as a school district, we apologize for all the problems this is as my first year as superintendent here in Newburgh. This is not the start that you want. I think in a board meeting a few weeks ago, I mentioned that this community, with the political unrest and COVID, we really needed a good, clean start to the year. And I think we had one going, and then this hit. And so it's definitely not ideal. It's been tough. It's been tough on families, tough on kids, and I apologize for all of that. We're working on it. There was a timeline I shared with the other day at the meeting, and then also at the board meeting. School started on the 6th. On the 13th, we had a board meeting, and we had STA show up to the board meeting because they were underperforming, and we wanted them to address the community and the board with a little bit of accountability. So that was on the 13th. On the 19th, by then it was 6 days later, and things hadn't improved any. We did send the letter, the breach letter. Okay. A week after the 19th, the 26th, we had the Monday night meeting where we met with about 50 community members to talk about it. The next night was the board meeting, the 27th, where we signed first student up to help out with 4 drivers. And now today, it's 2 days later that we're trying another avenue of reaching out to more people. So we have been trying to communicate. We have been trying to help the situation. But I'll be honest, I feel a little hopeless in the whole situation. This district doesn't have any buses. This district doesn't have any drivers. We are solely dependent right now on STA and first student. And I really appreciate first student stepping up and answering our call and trying to help out. So come Monday, I have high hopes that things are going to look a lot better.
There is somebody who had some of the questions that you did address earlier, but I thought maybe we can try and just quickly readdress them again. Regarding the student that has 2 homes, can they be taken to both if they live within the boundaries, or must they stay within the boundaries of their elementary school? And I believe that your answer was that would be something they would need to defer to the school. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, but as I'm thinking and rereading this question, I'm thinking logistically, what if I had 2 kids and one went to Maple Rush and the other went to Dundee? I don't see how I could shift that bus to go outside of that assigned area. So having to rethink that a little bit, I don't think logistically we would be able to pull that off.
Well, Scott, I think it's more a kid goes to one school. Kid goes to one school, and let's go. They live in Maple Rush and they go to Maple Rush, but they also have a home in the Dundee catchment area. And so, could some days they get from Dundee to Maple, and then other days they get from Maple to Maple, that kind of thing. I think that would have to be a case by case basis that SDA would have to answer.
All right. I do have just a couple more questions. I know that we are going to stop this at 8 o'clock. Let's I'd like to go back to the question about bullying and how it gets handled on the buses.
So student discipline is a building responsibility. Obviously, the bus driver should address it. Obviously, the bus driver should stop it, and then turn the situation over to the building administration. Let the building administration handle it. That's how it would be handled.
Yeah, the bus drivers aren't trained in due process and the steps that it takes. And in a bullying situation too, with the cameras on the buses, we have capacity to review the video as well. And that would be something that building level administrative team would have to take a look at.
Okay. Another one was regarding the 3 to 4 to a seat question that we were discussing earlier, and the safety risks.
Yeah. So I have reached out to ODE. ODE's guidelines are if you're an elementary student, then they're okay with you having 3 to a seat. If you're middle school or high school, it needs to be 2 to a seat. Never is 4 to a seat okay. Never is sitting on someone's lap okay. Never is sitting in the aisle okay. Those are all safety issues, and we don't condone that at all.
Back to how long are students supposed to wait after school for the bus to pick them up?
Well, in the ideal situation, the bus is waiting for them. The bus is already parked, ready to roll, and the kid, they get out of class and they grab their stuff and they run outside, and the bus is waiting for them and they jump on. So they shouldn't have to wait for a bus. If they do wait for a bus, it should be 5-10 minutes max. We're not there. It's obvious we're not there. Short on drivers, short on routes. Therefore, routes in the morning or routes at the elementary level are taking longer because they have to combine routes. That means when they get to the middle school, they're late to pick them up to take them home, or to pick them up to take them to school. It's just a domino effect. So
At what point, I guess the question would be, at what point does a student come to the conclusion that maybe their driver is not coming? Or is that just something that they should just continue to wait?
Yeah, I don't.
And we're not sure yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's
in theory.
That's tough. And then the reason why one of the reasons why it's tough is we've got some little kids out there, and we've also got moms and dads that are out going off to work, and they can't hang around all day and wait for a bus to show up. It's just a rotten situation.
I mean, it does sound like an awful situation for everyone involved. Just went through the questions, make sure. How long is the current contract with them, with STA?
5 years.
5 years. And when will the busing be more consistent, especially for the mornings?
Well, we're hoping we see a great improvement on Monday when we have the 4 first student coming on board and the 2 extra STA coming on board. We're hoping with those 6 extra drivers, 6 extra buses on the road, that things will improve dramatically. We'll see.
And in terms of the communication, how and why was there no communication to the families at the end of the last school year, or at least over the summer, regarding which students would need a bus?
Yeah, again, as I stated earlier, that's an expectation that we will be pushing out here for this upcoming school year for sure. And again, the boundary levels is either a mile or a mile and a half, depending on your age. The younger you are, primarily if you're an elementary age, we need to be picking you up within a mile. Obviously, you would coordinate with the school and let us know whether you are needing that transportation service or not, because there are some families that will allow for students to walk to school or however. So I think it's a joint communication process, but we definitely can be doing a better job pushing that information out this upcoming year.
Okay. Is there anything that either of you would like to add or state before we log off and say goodnight to everyone?
Sorry about the technical difficulties. We didn't know. Scott and I were rambling off answers to questions for 15-20 minutes, and we didn't know nobody was on. So it is recorded, and Michelle will make sure it's posted. But
Absolutely.
Apologize about that. We were unaware.
Yeah, it was a technical glitch. I do apologize, and I will take full blame. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. And for, again, anybody with questions that has been watching and they're in the comments, we will be going through those and taking note of them to make sure that we respond with your answer if we haven't already done so. Any of the questions that were answered that you haven't already heard, we will also send those out. And then anything that was specific to STA, we are also sending those to STA to make sure that your questions get answered. And we will be sending that back out to the community to make sure that you guys get the answers to your questions. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.